Hello, everybody. My name is Mario Rodriguez, and this is Rise Above. I hope everybody's doing well this evening. My blessings to you and your family. I decided to name tonight's episode Your Mind is Running You because the reality is most people's mind is working against them and they're not even aware of it. And unfortunately, sometimes when trying to be positive, you're actually further working against yourself. Because the truth is, if positive thinking worked, then most people would not be stuck. See, there's a stigma between awareness and thinking positive. And in this video, I hope to explain how the two are completely separate from each other. And the moment you realize this, you actually begin to free yourself from your mind. Because the reality is, awareness is not about how you think, but actually seeing what's already controlling you. And if you try to just be positive out the gate, then right away you begin to lose control and eventually you give up trying and you resort back to old habits, old mindset, your old life. So the first thing you have to understand is that there's a difference between feeling something and actually becoming it. You see, there's a very strong separation between, for example, feeling anxious and being anxious. You see, one sentence is going to quietly control your nervous system, while the other is just an observation that you're making. And the truth is, most people live their entire lives without learning how to separate the two, and then they wonder why they go around circles and circles. So the moment you say, I am anxious, I am stressed, your brain believes it. Not only does it believe it, it will make sure that it does everything in its power to make sure that it comes true. So the moment you begin to make the shift from not just saying you want to be something, but actually saying that you are it, you can quickly begin to change, manipulate, and create a new reality for yourself, a better life. Now you have to understand that awareness feels uncomfortable at first. And most people, when they begin to feel uncomfortableness, they they resort back to old patterns. But the truth is, it's in the uncomfortableness that you actually see the signs of freedom. It's in these moments of uncomfortableness that you begin to rewire your brain and start developing new thinking patterns. Now, when you become aware, you begin to remove distractions When you remove distractions, you're exposing your mind, you're exposing the things in your life that have up until this point tied you down to a life that you simply do not want anymore. And the truth is, the mind doesn't like to be observed. The mind wants to be in the background, kind of like the Wizard of Oz. It wants to pull the strings, but it doesn't want you to actually go up to the door and knock and start asking questions. That's not how our mind was designed. And that's why awareness, knowing what true awareness is, is so life changing. So you have to understand that the uncomfortableness is the sign that you're actually beginning to create a new life for yourself. Now, I'm trying something new, and unfortunately, I don't see the chat. Here we go. What the fuck? Our AI? My AI? No, I'm not AI. Rusted satellite, red flu. Let's see. I guess there's a lag between the chat on my phone and on my laptop. So I apologize for that. Now, the reason most people never change is because they want to skip awareness and go right in to living a new life. And you can't change what you don't notice. So you have to understand that discipline without awareness is simply just self punishment, like a dog chasing its tail. You're going to keep trying to find the solution to answers without knowing what the true questions you need to be asking is. Why not? Why can't I give up this addiction? But instead asking the question, why is it that every time I'm in this situation, it becomes the same pattern that leads me eventually into self-destructing habits, into living the same life that you don't want anymore. It's because you're not practicing awareness and you're not actually focusing on the problems and what creates the emotions you have when you run into these problems. As I've said in many videos before, actions, your reality, are a result of thoughts you have, and your thoughts come from the emotions you feel when you're put in certain events. So if you're living the same events every day, if you're just waking up and jumping into autopilot, then it's not even a question of what's going to happen. You're going to keep living the same life because you're going to feel the same emotions that are going to eventually lead you into the same habits that you're trying to break. So if you're trying to change, if you're trying to break these habits, but you're not actually getting to the root cause of what's creating these emotions, eventually you're gonna fall back into it. You see, for a long time, I thought for me alcohol was the problem, when the truth was alcohol was simply the vehicle I was using to get to escape the feelings and the emotions that certain events, certain situations would produce. Touch the wall or something. Point the finger. Oh, prove this is not AI, buddy. I'm whispering because my kids are asleep. Normally, I would be a lot more animated and engaged, but I don't want to wake my kids up. I was hoping to film this video before they fell asleep. Uh, that did not happen, but I, I did not want to break a promise to myself tonight that I would be making this live and I would be making it under my on my terms. So up, point a finger up. Let's see what else we got here. These are actually funny. Hi, what's going on, Tyler? What's going on, Rat Flu, Precious X? What's going on, everybody? So to get back to practicing awareness. Now, what I can tell you is that when you begin to not just practice mindfulness, but practice a clean lifestyle, which is eating healthy, exercising, feeding your mind, not just positivity, but true, true literature that will make you question yourself and the things you do every day, you'll actually start finding answers for questions that you didn't realize you needed to ask yourself. Even in my sobriety, the first few months, I still had trouble accepting that I had an absent father. And then one day I'm working out and I'm listening to, I believe it was Ed Milet, and he said, which I still remember to this day, he said, God will take things out of your life and put something better in its place. And it wasn't until that moment that I realized that as much as I really wanted to have a dad in my life as a kid, that for the simple fact that I had this giant hole in my life, in my heart, that I never had the um, the privilege of having a, a father figure give me guidance, give me advice, show me how to shave, show me how to drive, all these things I had to just kind of stumble on my own. What I was lucky enough was to start discovering personal development at the age of 30. So I began listening to Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Ed Milet. I mean, all the big names. I just started eating all this stuff up so that when I eventually got sober years later, I had this encyclopedia of knowledge that I never would have had my dad been in my life. And to even take it a step further, had my dad been in my life even just a little bit, there's a chance I would have put him on a pedestal and actually accepted the life he lived as being okay, which for the sake of my daughters, for the sake of my wife, and for the sake of my family, I'm very happy that I did. This awareness came through clarity of giving up my addictions, of taking care of my body, of making sure nutrition was was a non-negotiable part of my life. And this was 4 years ago. Before you turn around and not demon, I don't know who you are, Rat Flu, but I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you because Jesus, Jesus is the one. Jesus is the light, and nothing you say will harm me because God is here with me, with my family. So Eat shit, rat flu. So to not get off topic here, now there's things you can do to practice awareness. What can you do to practice awareness? Well, one thing I began doing from day one when I got sober was I began meditating. I began meditating and praying, which are two different things, but I strongly think that those are the two most useful things you can implement into your life if you're not already doing this to raise not just your level of awareness, but the relationship you have to God and creating a one-on-one relationship with Him. So many people rely on the word of a pastor, of a preacher, but never actually take the time to sit down and actually speak to God directly. And you would be amazed what happens when you open up this this communication with God. He'll give you answers. He'll give you awareness to things that you never knew were affecting you. A lot of people think that trauma only relates to someone who's been abused, who's been abandoned. And the truth is, when you're a child, you should you should have a a certain level of safety, of feeling safe, of feeling protected. And the moment you lose that, that in itself produces a trauma that stays with you the rest of your life unless you become aware that these are the things that eventually manifest into something that that masks itself as addiction, as depression, whatever the case is. So awareness, I always say, is the beginning of your transformation. If you can become aware of the things that lead you down the wrong path, you can begin separating yourself from the identities you once you once tied to yourself or other people labeled you as. If you can separate yourself from that identity, you can now create a new identity for yourself and you can start creating new habits that will further mold this new reality of yours. Thank you, Precious. I am not AI. That's right. Now, if anyone has any questions, please, please feel free to chat on here. I'm going to delete some of these chats because I will not allow any of this to be on this page. This is a house of God. We praise Jesus Christ here. And if that's not for you, this is not for you. I'm going to remove this. This should be it. So if anyone on here is suffering with an addiction and you seem to be going in circles, know that there is more than likely some sort of lingering trauma that you just haven't dealt with. The moment you deal with it, as uncomfortable as it may be, you'll free yourself. You'll free yourself and you'll feel that whether it's alcohol, whether it's drug related, you'll sense that it loses a lot of its power over you. Now, does this mean that you'll be able to kick your addiction right away? Probably not, because your brain and your body are also operating on a biological level, meaning your brain at a certain point will become dependent on certain things, on certain chemicals. But there's ways out of that. You start with awareness, but then you start implementing real world habits that will start to replace some of the things that you normally would do and create a new lifestyle for you that very quickly will validate your new identity. Let you know that your transformation began the moment you decided to no longer allow your past traumas, your past labels to keep having you live a life you don't want to live. Again, eating clean, exercising, meditating, and most importantly, surrendering to God and understanding that He is the light and He has He has a plan for you. And all the pain, everything you felt up until this point hasn't been for nothing. It's been for a greater purpose. And once you can start stepping into the life that you were destined to live, you'll quickly understand why you had to go through this pain. You have to understand that God hadn't God didn't give up on you. God didn't forget you. He's simply been molding you this whole time. There's a poster I used to see as a kid every time I went with my mom to pick up Avon boxes because my mom sold Avon when I was little. I'm sure most of you have read it, where it's called Footprints in the Sand. And it's a story about a man who goes through a tough time. Eventually, he finds God and he asks God, "Why did you leave me at my toughest times?" And God says, "No, son, I did not leave you. The moment there's only one pair of footprints in the sand instead of two when you went through these tough times, it's not because you were alone, it's because I was carrying you." And I can tell you that once you're able to free yourself from a life that you never wanted, a life that was put upon you, you can look back and start connecting the dots and see all the times that God was there for you, but He needed you to be there for yourself. And what's amazing is that once you're able to start living in your purpose, you start to illuminate. Your light starts to bright so it starts to shine so brightly that the people around you will either leave because they serve no purpose in your life and the light scares them, or you'll attract the people in your life that were meant for you. Now, you also have to understand that there's things that our bodies were designed to do in order to handle stressful situations that, again, we're never taught, we're never made aware of, that can use, that can come as very strong weapons when the enemy is upon you. One of the strongest, most useful exercises that we can do when we're under duress, when we're stressed out, when we're feeling anxious, is to simply breathe deep and stay still. If you can just breathe and stay still and let the moment pass instead of allowing yourself to trip yourself up and fall into old patterns, this will become a very useful method for living a life that you're very proud of. And I know you can do it. I know you can do it. Okay. The one thing I always tell people when they tell me that stress or anxiety or anger is just part of their character is that it's not true. It's not true. These are labels that people put on you and that you've chosen to accept as a reality. But that does not have to be the case. You can take control of your emotions. And the moment you can begin to control your emotions and not let people that are trying to upset you take you to that level, you can regulate your emotions. Once you control your emotions, you control your thoughts. And if you can control your thoughts, you're now shaping your reality instead of just stumbling from one moment to another and another. And then at the end of the day, trying to figure out how you again dig the hole so deep for yourself that you can't get out. There is no there is no no neutrality in life. You're either moving backwards or you're moving forward. But you have to make the choice. You make the choice through little actions that you make throughout the day. And if you can pinpoint all the negative behavior, all the negative thoughts, all the negative actions that you continuously live through on a day to day basis, almost on autopilot, you can begin to put something else in its place and you can become the architect to your life instead of being someone who's simply just living in it. I know you can do it. I know you can do it. Don't give up. Do not give up. Now, a simple exercise that you can do every night before falling asleep is to simply repeat to yourself, I control my thoughts. I control my emotions. Outside circumstances will not control me anymore. If you can do that on a nightly basis, you'll be amazed how you can truly rewire your brain to give yourself the momentum and the energy you need to be able to every day execute and do the things that you've always wanted to do, to give up surrounding yourself around the people that you're no longer serving you, to not care about being judged, that you're now going to pursue this new job, or you're now going to pursue exercising, or that you're going to give up hanging out at the bars, going out on Tuesday nights, that you're going to get to bed early, that you're going to wake up early, that you're going to feed your mind, that you're going to speak differently, that you'll no longer put yourself down because the whole world has been so used to you talking bad about yourself so everybody else can feel better. And the moment that you actually start speaking positively about you and your life, you're going to see who's actually in your corner. You're going to see who's actually meant to be in your life and who's been an energy vampire that's just been draining you this whole time for their own selfish purposes. Now, if anybody has any questions, please drop it in the chat right now, and I'll do my best to answer. Now, while we're on the subject, this is my first time I'm actually putting a link up for a book I wrote. It's not about me, this is about you. This is Rise Above. It's a quick read, 21 pages, and it's simply a blueprint of the things that you can focus on the parts of your life that you can improve on, that allow you to create and transform your life to where you can wake up every day and be excited to jump out of bed and go attack the day. The very first page is awareness. Because if you're not aware of where your mind is tripping you up, you better believe it's going to wait for the right moment. The moment that you run into your first roadblock, the moment you hear that first whisper of doubt, of negativity, and it's going to stop any and all progress that you've made up until this point. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up simply because I need to be up in a few hours for work. But as always, if you guys have any questions, any comments, go ahead and drop it on here. I'll make sure to answer it. As always, if this video served you, served anybody you love, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, check out all the content we have for you. I do this for you guys. I have zero sponsors. I make zero money off of this. I do this because I was able to free myself from alcohol, from almost every addiction you can imagine. Almost 4 years ago. In about 2 weeks, it's going to be exactly 4 years. It's incredible how quickly the time passes when you're living a life that you're actually proud of. So I hope this video served you. Take care. God bless.